911, what is your emergency?
Units respond code 3 to a 1050 on the highway. Vehicles are blocking multiple
We're en route
lanes
to the
of travel.
hospital. Patient is currently having
We've got a
cardiac
4-alarm
arrest and has
fire
been
here. Send
intubated.
additional
Protesters are
trucks.
outside of City Hall and they are not complying with our
Out
orders
on
to
1. Hold the
disperse.
air.
In a rapidly changing world for first responders where it seems that every day the rules and norms are changing, there is one voice you can count on to give you the latest in emergency news. That is Lifeline. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Lifeline 911 Podcast with your host, Erica.
Hello.
I am your co-host, Gary, and today we are joined by a very special guest for our 40th episode, a cog in the machine. Pamela Frisk is a 911 training and public education coordinator at CAPCOG and has served in that role and many others for 33 years. Pam is also a past president for NENA, the National Emergency Number Association. For those of us in the emergency communications field, that is more than a somewhat important organization, by the way. Working in a major COG is a challenging and dynamic field, requiring having to figure out how to piece together comprehensive training and coordinations of dozens of agencies of various sizes to work cooperatively. We are glad to have you with us today, and thank you for joining us, Pam.
Well, thank you for having me on.
First off, I kind of wanted to ask, what the heck are all those acronyms I just said? NENA, CAPCOG, what are all these things?
Sure, yeah. NENA, you were right. It's the National Emergency Number Association. Each state has its own chapter, and also we have APCO, the Association of Public Communication Officers, and that organization also has state chapters. COG. Let's talk about COG. What does that stand for? It's Council of Governments. Um, there's about 20 COGs in the state of Texas. It's they're all over different districts. But also, I just want to kind of let you guys know that with a COG, we also have emergency communication districts. There's 27 of those, and there's also municipalities. And really, if you're not familiar with any of this, you're like, what does that even do, or what do they do? Before I worked for a COG, I didn't really know myself. I always tell people, the COG is the liaison between the state and the counties, state government and the county government. And really, it's helping the counties with money. So if we're talking about a COG itself, a COG is not just emergency communications. The COG also has the Area Agency on Aging. There's also law enforcement, and there's also grants writing, and all kinds of different grants that are written for these counties. The difference for emergency communications is the fact that there are no grants. All the money that comes into 911, into any emergency communication district, the municipalities, or the regional planning commissions, those are from the 911 fees that we all pay. So that money goes directly to the district or the COG or the municipality. That money is, if you didn't know, the money actually goes towards not just public education and training. There's so much more that's involved, but each agency that is under the COG, I would say under a COG, which we have about 27 in our area. Each agency that's a 911 PSAP has 911 equipment that's paid for by us. We make sure that everything's running, that everything's going, smooth, and we make sure that it's all up to date. We get all new equipment all the time to make sure that everything that 911 call can go through and come in to your agency. And not to mention all of the wires and the console stuff and we have the monitors and everything. All of that's bought and put in the agencies from the COGs. There my department, where I in my own department is training and public education, and I actually get money to coordinate, bring in vendors, also to have all kinds of online training through Virtual Academy. Of course, we make sure you guys have that for free. And if you are with like priority dispatch, if you have that, we pay for all of that so that all of the agencies have the same equipment, the same, um, you know, basically the same equipment. And so that you could, if you wanted to transfer to another agency, you could do that. But really, we just want to make sure if you're a small agency versus APD, Austin Police Department, each department, each agency is the same, gets the same, and training too, gets the same training and anything that they're needing that has to do with 911.
So,
That
and
sounds
I'm
like a
hearing
tangled mess.
it does, it does. My brain is I'm going like a mile a minute. So if I don't know what this is and I'm trying to picture what this is, if I'm listening in, I don't know, Nebraska. I don't know if they have COGs or not, but just for the sake of the conversation. So when you
Yeah,
say all of the agencies, regardless of their size, get the same thing, this to me that sounds like the COG is they hold the purse strings, and not in a bad way, but it just makes sure that there is no poor agency, rich agency, bad equipment, failing equipment versus state of the art. We all have everything that we need to process 911 calls and emergencies in the exact same way, or at least at the same standard or level of quality. Does that sound right?
yeah, that's exactly right. That's correct. That's why
Right.
we have standards, because we want everybody to be equal. And if
Yeah.
you're living in Blanco County, the smaller area over there, rural, and you call 911, you want the same kind of um, service that you would
r-
have if you're downtown in Austin. So
Yeah.
that I think one of the things I always, whenever I first started in 911, was I couldn't believe that and this was a while back, of course. I was just couldn't believe I didn't have enough all this training, and I was sitting behind a console, and people were calling me to save them their lives or help them, and I didn't have hardly any training, and so that was one of my that's my passion. I really want to make sure that no matter where you are, you have all the opportunities to have training for yourself and for your agency. So so you're not sitting behind a console and afraid um, or even ignorant and don't know what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. And that makes the COG, whether we realize it, and it's opening my eyes. I mean, I kind of knew because we are fortunate enough to have I don't know if unlimited is the right way to say it, but we have a lot more access to you than probably some of our partners because they're a little
Right,
farther away. So we get to see a little bit because we can go to, you know, a building and we get to see the trainings as they're happening. We can pull up a page or we get email blasts that say, "Hey, this training is coming," and we know that we can get it, and it's not contingent on whether or not I have the money in my own back
right.
pocket for it. 'Cause COG is taking care of it.
That's right. And I will tell you that a lot of the cogs, and it just depends. We are very heavily populated, so not every cog gets the same amount of money because it's again per cell phone or per landline. So if you think about it, so our COG, we have quite a bit of fees that we get to use on 911, and we make sure
Mhm.
that we use it to get quality equipment, quality training. I think that CAPCOG is probably we were talking earlier. We were talking about how CAPCOG should be the forerunner for all the other COGs, and being in Austin, and I really truly believe that. What's interesting and confusing is this: where we're a COG, we are umbrellaed under the Capital Area Council of Government. And when I say we, I mean the emergency communications department, because we are actually a district. We are the capital area emergency communication district. And what's the difference between a district and a COG? Well, since we're umbrellaed under the COG, we just call ourselves the COG. But what happens,
Mm.
it's all about money, the money. The fees go directly to us as a district. If you are not a district and you're just a COG, like I'll give you an example. In Amarillo, the Panhandle Regional Planning Commission, their COG, it's a COG, and they do not have a district. All of their 911 fees goes to a state entity, and the state entity is called the CSEC. It's the Commission on State Emergency Communications. A lot of COGs, all their money goes there, and then CSEC will disseminate the money, and it's per capita too, per people. But what's nice about being a district is you don't have to wait around, or it's nice. It comes directly to us. There's a lot of COGs,
Ah,
the emergency communications, that have gone from under the COG to a district for that very reason.
so
And
they
I know
don't
it's
have to wait
confusing.
around for anything.
Right, right. And
Hmm.
I think it's nice because I feel like if you think about it, it's our money, everybody's money. It's going towards the work, work for the equipment, for everything that has to do with a 911 call. And I think it's kind of cool, like I feel like it's all of our, our Austin area, and so we
Yeah.
all get to use it and enjoy that and feel safe that we have good equipment, good people behind the equipment. So that's what I kind of wanted to explain that to you, so you kind of understood. It's still I know it's confusing. So we
No,
just always just
it
say
makes sense
COG.
to me. Yeah.
Sure, sure.
That actually that actually
Yeah.
makes sense to me because I realize because I look at in my mind's eye, I see the state of Texas, right? And I see it kind of chopped up into little sections. And inside of that section are subsections. And to me, our COG is just this it's an entity, and then the 911 division within it is a subsection of that COG. And your function is to make sure that the citizens inside of your I guess area of responsibility, which I think is it how many counties is it? Is it 10 or is it 11?
10.
10.
One, two,
So
10. Yeah.
so your responsibility, your area of responsibility, you're making sure that each one of these can rightly serve the citizens and visitors inside of those areas. And so because we don't have to wait for some state entity to dish out the money and pay for all the stuff, it comes directly to you so you can do what needs to be done and you don't have to wait for permission. Does that sound right?
Yes, and it's CSIC's a great agency, and they do a lot of great work. I think that having the money go directly to us, versus it going to them, it also because we know our area, better than anybody else, right? So we know what we need,
Sure.
and we know what how to use that money, and so I think it's a better system that way. Yeah, and like I said, there's still about 20 COGs that do not have a district under them. But I foresee the future. It could change. You never know. If anybody's interested at all, if they want to go, they can go to the website, the CSEC. So that's the Commission on State Emergency Communications. If you go to that website, you'll have some different tabs, but one of them is 911. Click on that tab. There is a State of Texas 911 service entities. It shows all of the COGs and the districts and where they are located in Texas. If anybody's interested, they can look that up and see where they are. Some of the agencies, that's another thing. I don't know if they understand this, but some agencies don't know that the COG or the district in their area or the municipality, they're there to help. And,
Yeah.
they may not know that, hey, just like, you, Erica, that you could contact me and you're like, hey, I'm going to have a little community event. and I need some public education material, and can you help me out? Not a lot of people know that your COG will help you out with all that. They'll help you out with different kinds of supplies if you need it. You just have to contact them and let them know what you need as an agency. Uvalde, we talked about Uvalde a lot whenever all of the tragedy happened last year. And one of the things that was interesting, there was a lot of people that went down to help. Our president at the time, she made sure that they didn't have, they had, or so, like they didn't have any good supplies. They had old chairs, they didn't have hardly any pens, like they had nothing, the Uvalde um, 911 center there. And so, that was one thing I was really kind of sad to hear because they did not know that they could contact their COG and say, "Hey, we need some chairs. Can you help us with this? Can you help us with? We need some pens. We need some, updates." And so, I think that agencies should for sure be, especially your the head dudes and dudettes. They for sure need to know this so that they can become, get in good with your COG or get in good with your district and get to know these people. And so you get your full value out of everything that the COG and district has to offer.
I would like
So
to just kind of interject, like, if you're just like a 911 operator or dispatcher, though, go through your chain of command. Don't just give
yeah,
the COG a call. Just put that out there so there's no confusion.
sure.
What? You
And
mean that you don't have some of those
that's
passionate
true.
people that'll just reach out there?
I would tell you, I do open up my email to anybody. When I have training, I tell people if y'all have any questions, holler at me. And I am I really really want to help because I know how it was when I was young, and I know what I didn't have, and I not that I know everything, I just know where I can find it. I also know people that can help other people, and so that's what I tell everybody. But yes, you're right. Supervisors, talk to your supervisor, get with your supervisor and say, "Man, we need some training on this or that," and so contact, your COG about that. Maybe
Uh,
you're sitting there with an old keyboard that just keeps getting stuck, and you don't know that. Hey, all you have to do is contact your COG because if it's a 911, of course it has to be with the 911 equipment. But if your stuff is not working, make sure that you contact your COGs and districts and get your equipment up to date.
Otherwise, you're going to be getting like 150 emails requesting 162 different types of chairs. So you don't
True
want that.
that.
Trust me.
That's true. That's true. It is a process. Of course, it's a government entity. We are a government entity. When you say that, we all know what it means. It's a process, and it's just one thing I tell you. Whenever I came out of the comm centers and I went to work for a planning commission, it was the hardest thing for me to know or to be around is the planning portion. When we're in the 911 center, we take a call, we get it over with, we get this done, we go to the next call, we go to the next call, we get things done, right? And so when you're in a planning commission, you plan and you have a meeting about planning, and then you have a meeting about the planning meeting. So, it takes a little bit, and so I really I have to learn to be patient. It's not my best quality, I will tell you. So, it's taken me a while. It is
I
the
would
process,
imagine.
and yeah, and it's not it's and like, I just threw out chairs there. I guess I shouldn't have said that, but that's okay. I want people to know that there's all kinds of there's there's all kinds of things that can be done, but you just have to ask. Again, getting good with your COG, the director, assistant director. Maybe you don't know them, but you know the training coordinator. Hey, contact me and I'll get you with the right person. Who do you need to talk to? Well, I know which one you need to talk to. So, I think that's important that everybody knows that. When I was sitting behind a desk, my my first at least 5 or 10 years, I knew nothing about a COG, and I knew nothing. I did not know that when National Telecommunicator Week came along, I was like, where did we get this stuff? Like, who gave me this nice stuff? And you know, gave us cookies or blankets or whatever. And, I
Yes.
didn't even know that, and I didn't even know that, and they'd call me sometimes. I remember this is I was sitting there and they call me and say, "How's the printer working?" And I'm like, "Why do you care?" Like, well, it's their printer. And back then we printed a lot of stuff, right? So,
Yeah.
the COG would call me and say, "Hey, how's the printer doing? How's this? Do you need some paper?" And I would be like, "What? Okay." And I just didn't understand why they're calling because that's their job.
To make sure that we have the things the basic things that we need, but then even bigger than that, because I'm just hearing you talk about that the fact that there are probably PSAPs, even in this massive great state of Texas that may not know what is at their disposal or what they can call and ask for makes this episode even more meaningful to me because maybe this episode will make its way to the little lonely PSAP somewhere in East Texas that isn't that they maybe their director may not know or their leadership may not be as aware as we would hope because we're spoiled here in Austin. I'll be honest, we are absolutely rotten because we know, at least I do, and I think you know, Gary. We all pretty much know. We just call Pam. If we don't know what else to do, just call Pam. Matter of
Oh,
fact,
Pam.
we got our email. Just
That's
do
right.
that. Hopefully,
That's
that's one
right.
good thing that will come out of this.
For sure. And you know what? And this is another thing to kind of, I just want people to realize this. We have communication centers that are not 911 PSAPs. And let's just talk about like Austin ISD or
That's
any of
true.
so we have those comm centers. Those are, we do not, help them as far as, with all of the fees because everything that the only thing that we can use that money for is 911. However, what
Right.
I do make sure that I invite anybody in the state of Texas can come to any of our training. I make sure that and our training has always been free. I want it to be free because I know that some agencies can afford it, and some agencies they might can afford it, but it doesn't matter. But the ones that can afford it don't send people. So I just want to let y'all know that we are here. I am at least here to help those people that have questions and um, if they need this or that, and we do help. With of course the transfers, anything that transfers to a 911 center. So we are kind of involved, you know, uh, with those agencies. But I do want people to know that it's not just these 911 centers. There are so many telecommunicators all over our area. I will give you an example, like just you guys, just for our 911 centers for CAPCOG area, there's 800 plus telecommunicators. And
Wow.
What?
Why are they
yes,
all not
that's what I
listening to
said.
each episode?
I know, right? Yeah, go on. And so I'm
Wait a
telling you
minute.
guys that
Wait,
that
wait, wait,
does
wait,
not
wait.
count. Yes, ma'am.
Wait a minute. So
Yeah,
I'm stuck on this 800. 800 where, Pam?
800 all over this COG area. So do you want me to tell you some of the
Hours?
yours? Let's see.
What?
Land. So we have Marble Falls PD, we have Lakeway PD, Blanco, we have Pflugerville, Georgetown, Wilco, Leander, Cedar Park, Bastrop. These are just some of the agencies I'm talking about. But these are the 911 centers that we actually service the CAPCOG area in these
Wow.
in these 10 counties. There's
Wow.
800 in our 911 telecommunications. And the reason why I know this is one of my jobs, and I really love it. My favorite part is National Telecommunicator Week, and I
Yeah,
start in
yeah.
January. Yep, yep. And I start in January, and I I do I try to see how many people have this and who has this. And so the first year I was here, I just we got 800. Okay. And this is whenever it was about 2021, and everybody kind of low on personnel. At that point, I think we gave out about 600 NTW gifts. However, last year I barely had enough. So
Wow.
that's great, right? And so this year, I feel like it's even going to be more. So we'll do another number. It's going to be that's why I say 800 plus. Um, and we're like, there's 10 counties here. If you think about it, how interesting this is, and how if you think about all the ICs, and even like I'm trying to think some of the agencies that you have, even like sheriff's offices that aren't 911, but they have people that answer phones, and so all of these telecommunicators are in our area. They all need training, and that's one of my favorite jobs to do, um, is to do that. And so I'm gonna give you kind of a like where I was, and so I'm from the Panhandle area. In the Texas Panhandle, there's 24 counties that surround Amarillo, and that's the
What?
counties that we
Wow.
service. 24, but in the 24, at that time, there was only about 250 telecommunicators. And so
Huh.
I came to work here in Austin, and I said, "How many are there?" And they said 800. And I said, "Wow!" And just this small little area. So, there is a lot, and there's a lot that we want to do, and I'm hoping that we do a good job. And that's the other thing is, I think that we don't know what we don't know. If something's not going right, or this wasn't, this didn't go right, especially now, we had a bunch of stuff, new stuff put in everywhere. We need to know what is it we need to do better. What else do we need? I mean, I'm always, and you probably see these, Erica. I send out emails all the time about what do you want, what training do you want, and
Yeah.
I do get feedback, and I listen to what people say, and so that's good too. But seriously, this is all for the 911 centers and the people sitting in those chairs.
That is amazing. I mean, I knew that your reach, or the COG, if you will, I knew the reach was I know it had kind of a far and wide reach, but I had no idea of the sheer numbers. I
Yeah,
can't even imagine the
there's a
bill
lot.
for when you order our stuff every year, which, that's important to me. I want to know what we're getting this year.
Oh yeah, I'm already on it. I've got a really good theme going, but I'm gonna keep it a secret until I know for sure.
Right about now, we're starting to talk about, I wonder what we're getting from CAPCOG. I wonder what our gifts is going to be this year. We start talking about it. It's a shame,
Yeah,
but we have no shame. We have no shame.
that's all right. Because I think it's important, and there's, it's the thing is if you have to have something to look forward to. What a hard job, and you're in there and you're doing this, but man, hey, National Telecommunicator Week coming up, and what are we getting? What fun stuff are we gonna do? Who's gonna empower us and tell us how great we are? So I think it's very
It's
important.
very true.
I like to
You
have
know,
themes, and so my first year I was here, the theme was covered in 911 love, and so that's when
Mm,
everybody got those blankets, and we got those
hmm
umbrellas. I don't know. So
yes,
last
those
year,
were amazing.
I know, right? I love those blankets. So last year I was like, what are we gonna do? And Bianca's one of the operations technicians here, not operations technician. She's telecommunicator. I don't know her whole title, but she does a lot of stuff with ops and operations. So Bianca and I were talking, and I said, I need a theme for this year, and she says, let's do 911 trending. So that's when we were like, okay, so we got to get trendy items. So we got, the beanie hats, and we got,
Yes,
the fanny packs, and we got the Stanley cups that were not a Stanley, and we had a lot of
they
companies
weren't.
doing all that. But yeah, they were. Did you see those?
I did. I thought it was a Stanley Cup, but okay.
No, yeah, it's not. It wasn't. That's why I put it on. So you need to look at it. It's really cute. It has it on there. It has a logo that looks like a Stanley. This is not a Stanley on it.
Didn't
oh,
And
even pay
so,
attention.
and I put a little headset on the little lion. I think it's a lion that's on the Stanley Cup. I'm not sure what that
Oh
animal
my
is,
God, I'm
but
so gonna go find mine. I never paid attention. That's
I totally
crazy.
missed that.
Yep.
yes, and yes, I really want y'all to. So this year, I'm not real sure, but I did see a really cool item. that one of the lower COGs, let's see, I think it was let's see, the valley, down in the valley, and they brought some of these items and to our training conference, and I was like, that is amazing. So really like them, and what you want me to give you a hint? You said earlier.
Oh, yeah, just for our listeners,
She is being so careful not to tell us what it is. It's driving me insane. Okay.
Very tactical. That's all I have to say.
Very technical.
Tactical. Very tactical. Yeah. Do y'all
That
remember
is,
the one where we got the little hats and we see there was hats and little backpacks, I think.
yes.
Yes, the backpacks that were requested. So yeah, that theme was like outdoorsy, like supposed to be
Yep.
outdoorsy. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the way we're gonna go. And I'm already getting quotes for some stuff, so I am super excited about it, and I think everybody's gonna love them.
Well, we always love
Hmm.
everything. I have most of the stuff, and I know my blanket is tucked away. I have to wrestle it away from family members that first year. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, I don't want. Yeah, I got nieces and nephews that have like little grubby hands, and I needed to make sure that they didn't get their little grubby hands on it and mess it up. I just went back to the site. So Bianca Salas, here it says she's a 911 telecommunicator coordinator.
I think that's their new title. They kind of titled them differently. And when I first started, I was actually in that department and moved over into training and pub ed about 6 months later. But what? So Bianca and Megan, Bianca Silas and Megan Bowers, they are. I call them the little like they're like the liaison between the
Yeah.
AT&T tech who help you guys
Yep.
with all of the technical stuff and you guys. So, they're in between, they're making sure that, the monitors are working and calling out a tech if it's not, or if we have a fiber cut somewhere and they're on that, try to make sure that everybody's got a AT&T ticket out and making sure everything's working good. And I will tell y'all those two are like they're wonderful. They're two of the best I think I really do. I think they're two of the best workers in this area that do what they do. Especially these last few months, whenever we've changed from one call processing um, vendor to another, and all this new equipment
Yeah.
that's went in, been very, very, kind of stressful, but they've done a great job, and so they do good work. And I will tell you, you know what, that you can reach out to them also. They are great. They used to be telecommunicators at different agencies, San Marcos and Kyle, and
Wow.
but yeah, and so they're really good and good at what they do. So I'm glad that they work here.
That's amazing. I am at a place now where I'm thinking about, you said all the new equipment and just realizing that you guys handle all of that for all of the agencies within this area. So that is a
Yeah,
massive job. And I'm looking at this directory and I see one, two, three, four, five, six. I see 7 people.
right.
Tell me, how did you do that?
Right. And I will tell you that there's 4 AT&T techs that are our AT&T techs. They're ours. So we can add 4 more because they're the behind the scenes. They're the ones that do all the connecting, disconnecting, putting in the consoles, and everybody else is just, we're doing contracts, we're doing the paperwork, we're doing the training, the pub ed, we're doing, the emails to make sure that everybody's up and running, or, writing tickets for somebody if they don't have maybe their 911 call is not coming in good. So we have to make sure that they're transferred to the right agency, and we help them and get a ticket in to the AT&T techs who run out there and work hard. Those 4 guys are awesome. 3 guys and 1 gal, and they're awesome. Just a great. We're very lucky for all the people that we have. Great agency, our great department. Um, I just think we all work really great as a family, as a team, I should say, team family.
I agree because it takes a lot. It takes a village is an understatement to put together a 911 center, let alone 10 just in a small area. And then when you think about a state and you start branching out. So you guys do more than just our equipment. You take care, you don't, the vendors for our language line, that's a thing. You guys take care
Yep.
of that. Can you think of
Yes.
like, I'm stuck right now. My brain is just kind of locked in. I can't think of anything else that you guys
Well,
handle besides what is immediately in front of me.
sure. So you have, of course, your mapping systems, your call processing equipment, anything that has to do with 911. Let's think. So if we do language lines, the translation systems, the
Yeah.
rapid deploys are the new mapping system. So we have to make sure too, and think about this. So we have a new call processing equipment, meaning I think it was Solacom and now we're in Trado, and so what that means is that's a new telephone system. If people are listening. It's a 911 telephone system that is installed into these agencies, and it's at each console. And it's a new system. So what happens whenever you have new system? Well, you've got to train. So we had to
Yeah.
make sure and get about 800 people trained on everything. We brought them in here actually to CAPCOG. We have a training um, lab, I call it, and it's great. And we bring them in, and over the last 6 months or so, many people come through. So we just want to make sure, and that people are trained on that. Now, the rapid deploy, which is the mapping system, it's all online, but again, we have to make sure that people are using that training and getting that so that they use everything that's offered to them. This equipment's just amazing.
And you also may, and I have to be really careful here with this because, not to disclose like any kind of a location or anything, but the you guys maintain the backup center where we
Yes,
go in case of an emergency, and all of that
yeah,
equipment, and making sure that it is up and running at a moment's notice, and making sure that it is good to go, making sure that we have what we need because there for a little while we lived there for, what was it,
Yeah, I'm
Gary,
not
for
sure
four
we're going to be
months
invited back. Yeah, 4 months. I think we overstayed our welcome quite a bit. I was seeing some dirty glances from people.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's people are just people. We all love each other. We're all just big fam. We're in the club. We're all fam. So you are so funny. What's great is it's really incredible if nobody's ever seen the backup center. When I first went back there, I was blown away. And what's interesting is people don't realize if APD goes down and Travis County and EMS and if CTEC, you know, it has a power outage, everybody could come over and actually be in the backup center, and all of them work there. It's
Yeah,
huge. Um, we have also consoles for all the other agencies. Maybe not as many as we do for you guys, but we have consoles so people could come in and sit if they needed to. So it's amazing,
yeah.
and yeah, it's all kept up, with the same equipment, with everything that you guys have at your agency. You just have to log on and then you're
Yep.
there.
Go to work.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I think we'll be there in about 2 weeks. We'll be there
Are y'all?
for yeah, for about 3 or 4 days while they do some stuff at our house. I don't know. They're cleaning some stuff, which is, don't get me started on that. I don't understand, but okay. That's what
Yeah, they
that
gotta
is.
clean well, they gotta take out stuff, and they gotta make sure it's all good and but yeah, there's a lot to still be there's a lot to be done still. I will say that this last week was our last, we call it a cutover whenever you go from one call processing equipment to another, and you cut over to a new equipment. And so all of the agencies have been cut over. However, there's still a lot to be done, and CTEC is, of course, it's huge, and there's a lot to be done. But that's okay. That's our job, and I believe it'll be no problem. I think everything's going to run smooth, and everything's going to be good. I really like this new equipment too, and I hope you guys do too. I know change is hard for us all, especially, I
We do
mean,
not like
telecommunicators. Oh
change.
oh, you get really good at what you're doing, and you know all the the little tips and tricks and how to get here and
Yeah.
there, and then they change it on you, and
Yeah.
and the CAD
And
system and everything. It's tough.
we act like a bunch of 5-year-olds, and we're stomping our feet and going because it worked just fine in our opinion, even though there was going to be no what do you call that? No technical support or anything for it. It's fine. I'll do it myself. That's how we feel about it. Even though we absolutely
Right.
cannot do that. That's just the way we
I
So
are.
know.
I,
We like being in control.
Mhm.
I did have a question about how you, as like the cog, kind of make decisions when you like purchase new products or new
Mm.
devices, because I'm sure that you've got, your 10 counties. There's probably, I don't know, how many PSAPs are screaming at you at the same time saying, I want this, I want that, and you've got to try
Right.
and somehow find a middle ground that'll make everybody happy. That's got to be rough.
And just like all of the COGs and districts, we have our advisory committees, and there's usually a representative from every area that come to these meetings, and they all work together. It's a huge process just to decide on what we wanted to bring in. As far as the call processing equipment, we had to put out an RFP, and we pull in information from the vendors, different vendors, and then we go back to the advisory committees, and we show them, and we'd have demos. Tons of demos came through, not only the call processing, but we're talking about the mapping system too. And really everything is we do what the advisory committee wants, that they're they are like um your liaison, per agency or per county, and they're going to speak for your area. So we work with them very, very closely, and the decision is made, like a unanimous decision. This is how we're going to go, and this is the best one, and maybe this is the best price, or this is the best price with the best equipment. So it's not just like one person says, "Hey, this is really cool," So it's a process again. If anybody's worked in government, you know how that is. But
Yeah.
um, what's really great is that everybody um, is involved. And when I say
Hmm.
everybody, I mean all of the agencies and I always say all the agencies that we service, but it's all of our agencies that we take care of. And there's a representative from each, not agency, their area. And not to mention, the executive committees, which is over the COG itself. When I talk about the advisory committee, I'm talking about just our 911 advisory committee. After we get everything together and all the everything is worked out, then all of the information is then taken to the executive committee over the COG, because we want to make sure everybody knows what's going on, and it's all transparent. And
Yeah.
we want, of course, them to put their yays on there, their um, thing they need, if they have questions about anything. So all of that's done, of course, and it does take a while. Um, it's interesting. I started here in Austin in 2021 again, and I I think it was just the year after that, 22. So it's been a couple of years before we even started putting in equipment. But they had started at least 2 years ago, looking at what we needed to go with, go forward with.
Sure. Yeah. So if I mean the job you have sounds like really hectic and crazy, but also dynamic and a lot of fun. And I don't think there are a lot of people that really know about that job. If like so, like working at the CAPCOG, because you get this nice big area and you're helping all these different agencies out. If someone were interested in like going into that uh, part of the profession or the career in that, do they like how do they do that? Do they put in an application? Do they do we have to go vote for them on Tuesday? Put Pamela Frisk as our cog. Like how do they get that job?
Sure. Well, CAPCOG has openings all the time. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's an opening in our ops department to work with Bianca and Megan. Um, it just came open, so if anybody's interested, look that up, and you'll see what what you'll need as far as prerequisites. I'm not sure if they're asking for um, people with degrees. I don't think that. I think we really, really look for people that have experience in 911. So if anybody's
Yeah.
interested, you guys look at that and see if that's something you'd want to do. I know that we just had a couple of applications, and so it's been open for a little bit, but I'm hoping we get more. I will tell you that if you know, you, we were talking about this, Eric and I. We start in 911, we start behind the console, and we're there. And people don't realize that there's so much more. You think, oh, there's nowhere for me to go. I can't become supervisor because so and so is going to be here for 20 years, and I can't do that. But
Yeah.
they're wrong. There's so much more than just their agency. Even you can work at the COGs. You can do some training. I know that there are some people that actually over at CTech, there's one person that does a lot of training for Nina and APCO. JC Ferguson, I don't know if you know JC, and he's in the EMS over there, and he does a lot of training, and so
Yeah. I
he'll
know
go and
JC.
do that and do some training, and but I will tell you, there's a lot more to it than sitting behind the console. However,
Mm.
with that being said, you also gain so much experience. And I think we were talking about this too, Erica. Like we were saying, maybe you've been it's 10 years and you're just like, I've got to do something else. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe you're losing some hearing. We've kind of talked about that even, and you're like,
Yeah.
I just don't want to do the same. Or maybe mentally you're just like, I am tired.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
have a lot of experience. All of the equipment that you work on, all of the life that you experienced through other people. That's a lot of experience. And so I think that people need to realize that it's somewhere to start. Doesn't mean you have to be there forever, but I'll tell you, there's some people that love it and will stay there forever.
And we need them.
Go ahead.
And that's okay too.
Because I think that a lot of people, when they come into 911, if they don't stay there the whole time, they're like, I'm only here until I become a cop, of course. Yeah. They're
Right.
always
Yeah.
going to go into the academy. But as you said, there's so many things for people to do because uh, not being a cop isn't the best use of uh, everyone. There's
Sure.
like
Yeah.
people that are more technically inclined or more people
Mm.
oriented. Get out there and teach. More technically inclined, get out there and I don't know, run some cables or fiber optics. However you do it, however you make the magical phone calls come through.
Everything's evolving finally for 911. I always say it's like it's we're behind, in all of our 911, NG 911 and everything. We're behind, but
Yeah.
it's catching up. And so there's a lot of jobs in the IT area for 911, not to mention cyber security, everything, all of
Yep.
that. And if you're interested and you go and you get a certificate or you go to college or do whatever, you can go to college and work part time, I mean work full time, go to college part time. I did that. And I will tell you this, this is another thing I always tell all the telecommunicators. That there's people that they're like, I'm going to start as a telecommunicator and I'm going to do this and I'm going to become a cop. And I will tell them, and I actually teach at the law enforcement academy over here sometimes, and I'll tell the officers also this. I think the best officers begin in as a 911 telecommunicator because
Absolutely.
as you, yeah, as you come out of that, you already know the system, the people, how to talk on the radio, how to look at
Hmm.
the returns, and so all of that's already kind of done. If I was new
Yep.
just going into that as an officer, it's hard, and so I feel for those guys and gals that just go directly there. I believe that the best officers start in 911 or behind the console.
And most of the ones that we know, which we've got to make some, we got to work on that, Gary. We got a handful that we need to be talking to and bring them
Mm-hmm.
in so people can hear them say that because they are most often the most respectful. They are most often the most helpful. They
Yeah.
are self-sufficient in a lot of ways. They rely on their dispatchers and 911 operators, but they also understand the call taking process, the information gathering process better. They their expectations aren't as steep well, they're not unrealistic in their expectations. They understand that it takes time to get a frantic, freaked out person down to earth enough to give you the information that you need to help them. So, yeah, I agree 1000%. And that experience translates into so many different jobs. Uh,
It
like the
does.
people
It does.
that's in Entrado, like the people who taught us the Entrado system. Every single one of
Yes,
those people that I know off the top of my head, the ones that I encountered, they were all former telecommunicators and might have still been on a part-time level.
correct.
And
And
we
so
did
now they're
everything we could to stress them out.
right? And now they're traveling the world and, not the world,
Yep,
sorry. They're traveling around and actually
yep,
in travel everywhere. So they're traveling around and and it's good pay. Of course, they're away a little bit, but that is another way to look at that. Erica, you're right. Whenever
yep,
I will tell you too, we talked about how people are aspiring to be a police officer, and so my lifetime, that's exactly what I did. And I was that person that was behind the console, and I was like, my supervisor's never leaving, and she didn't for 30 years, I'll tell y'all. But anyways, I knew she would never
wow,
leave, and so I was like, what do I do? So I went to the academy. While I was working, I would go full time. Working in part-time academy, and I became a deputy where I was. I became a deputy. We had to work in the jail a year before we got out on patrol. But before that happened, I decided that I want to finish my college. So I went over to a college, and worked over in a college area as a police officer and got my degree. But I will tell you what happened to me and why you know, as a police officer, for me, that just wasn't the best place for me to go. 'Cause I became a mother during the time I was a corporal over there um, at the college, and the interesting thing is when I came back off of maternity leave and I would go out and, you many fights or many things you have to do, and I remember being in the fight or being there, doing somebody or, working with them and slow motion, I'm listening to myself thinking, "I am a mother. Don't they know I'm a mom? Don't they know I'm just a mom? What the heck are they
yeah,
doing?"
yeah,
I was just like, "That's," I didn't want that for me um, and my son. So that's when I said, "Okay, I'm glad I finished my degree. Now I'm gonna go somewhere else." Now, you don't have to have a degree to get everywhere. I just did it because actually it was pretty cheap for me as a police officer for one of the
yeah,
colleges. And, so I finished it out, but I'm glad that I moved up and I say moved over to a different area and I started working for the COG there in Amarillo at that time. So best things ever happened to me. But I did start behind the console. I actually started behind the console in the Amarillo Police Department in 1991. Many
nice.
years.
Shout out to
Not
Amarillo.
Amarillo.
Love it. Love it. Well, Pamela, thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate your insights and information that you've been able to provide on not only all these crazy acronyms like NINA and COG, but all the hard work that you and your team have been doing over the many years, and we very much appreciate it. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Definitely.
Thank
It
you
was
for
amazing.
having me. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
And thank you, listeners, for joining us as well. We appreciate your support and listening to us. From all of us at Lifeline 911 Podcast, I'm Gary,
I'm Erica.
and we will see you next week.
Thank you for watching our production of Lifeline 911 podcast. If you have any questions about the topics we discussed today, or if there's something specific you'd like us to cover in a future episode, send us your questions at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com. Stay safe out there. Until next time, this is Lifeline 911 signing off.